Here we are today to talk about Audi. And what is Audi? Audi is a car manufacturer that makes combustible engines. Well, not anymore. Audi now makes an Audi, but with an electric twist. Let's take a look at this 2019 Audi E-Tron. So this Audi E-Tron has a 95 kilowatt battery, and for the Tesla owners out there, that would be something like P95D or anything that has a number in it. And this one has a 95 kilowatt battery. It can do 329 kilometers in terms of range, but that really varies based on how heavy your foot is and what type of options you're running in the car. If you have your cooled seats on, the air conditioning cranked, all the music playing in the car, and really draining the battery, you probably won't get that. Vice versa, if you're not using any of the features, then you'll get more than 329. So it really varies. 329 is not really carved in stone, it sort of varies. And that's how I felt when I drove it under different range and different throttle positions. I felt the range would sort of change. It's sort of called predictive range. It's not accurate range. So that noise was actually a sound that Audi puts in their vehicles up to 40 kilometers an hour to let pedestrians know that you're approaching. Because remember, electric cars make no noise. It's actually kind of scary to know that you can drive and actually hear nothing, like absolutely nothing. So they make that noise to let people around the vehicle know that you're approaching. All right, so two things I noticed about the E-Tron in the front of the vehicle. The first thing is these things are battery operated, which means they can get hot. So what Audi has done is they've incorporated flaps inside the front grille that open and close to cool the batteries down. So what happens is if you're overheating or you're on the car, you're on kick down mode or full throttle, or as you guys know it, ludicrous mode, what happens is the batteries heat up quite a bit. So this vehicle is water cooled, but in addition to that, these flaps open up. It's not as efficient aerodynamically, but what happens is the air goes in, cools it on, and then when it's done cooling, it closes up to increase or to decrease wind resistance. The second thing I noticed is on the side here, what happens is the air goes through the side vents here, goes through the front and doesn't hit the back of the front of the tire. It goes around. So you can see it goes around and then loops back in. So when you open up the hood of the E-Tron, every E-Tron will have what they call a kangaroo pouch that you can open up. It's 60 liters of storage and it'll come with your cables. So you can put your charging cables in here and you'll get your regular plug and your 240 plug. A lot of people ask me, how long is it going to charge this car on a regular plug? And I'd like you guys to sort of answer below on what you guys think on how long it's going to take to do this, and I'll answer that question at the end of the video versus the 240 plug. So everybody gets a kangaroo pouch, so you can put whatever you'd like in it, but otherwise it's pretty typical in terms of electric. You've got your orange cables that you should not touch because it's high voltage cabling. So hands off, do not touch. I mean, you can touch them, but at your own risk. So I still got to make this video, so no touching for me. In North America, we actually do not have what Europe has, which I'm envious of, and that is the side mirrors that are pure cameras. We still have the conventional side mirror here with the plastic housing. However, the difference is on the side now, they have the camera that faces outwards, so you get a wider projection when you're doing side parking. So that's pretty cool. I'll show you guys that in a minute. But on the side here, you can still see the cutout here for where the LCD screen would go. So this camera will project what you can see on the side through an LCD screen. So we're going to get that some point soon. We just don't have it at the moment. There's a lot of tech in here that people have to absorb first, and once they get that, then we'll start putting all these little small features in. So my thoughts on the vehicle on the outside and how it relates to some of the vehicles we already have. So the two things that come to mind is one is a Q5 and the other is a Q8. From the outside, this looks very Q8-ish to me, with some electric futuristic tad bits like the wheels as well as the dragon orange calipers. That's sort of unique, but the wheels definitely throw right at you that this is an electric vehicle. The front grille, the octagonal front grille, tells me that it is an electric vehicle. As far as the inside goes, I think the biggest thing that I noticed is the back seats are like a Q8, but the trunk is like a Q5. So I think a lot of people would like to know, like, how much trunk room do I get? Is it like a Q7? Is it like a Q8? The answer is no. It's more like a Q5. The back seats, though, are bigger than a Q5. So if you jump in the back of the seat of a Q5 and you find it a bit too tight, the E-Tron or the Q8 or the Q7 will work for you. So one of the main differences about an electric vehicle is charging. How do you charge it? What do you use to charge? How do I charge it at home? And those type of questions. So the first thing you need to know is that it's going to be pretty difficult to buy a vehicle like this and have a 100 amp service at home. You need to really have a 200 amp, and part of that panel needs to be dedicated for your vehicle. This vehicle really needs 50 amps going into it to charge it a decent amount of time. If you plug it into the wall anywhere and think you can just plug it in and go your conventional standard charging time, it's going to take upwards of 3 days to charge, which is crazy. And I don't think anybody's going to want to wait 3 days to charge their vehicle. The second thing about it is that if you go to level 3 charging, which is like fast charge, you can't fast charge it all the time. Well, theoretically you could, but if you fast charge it all the time, you actually deteriorate the battery. So on any battery vehicle, you need to, I wouldn't say trickle charge it, but you need to use level 2 charger, which is sort of a medium charge, and then top it up with the fast charger. So when anybody says you can charge it in 30 minutes every time, you can, it's just not good for the batteries. All right, so we're going to talk about charging and how do you charge this vehicle. So first things first is you have to grab the pistol, push the button in, and place it in the vehicle. Push the button, key has to be right by you, pull the flap down, push the downward one in first. It's windy here, but push the downward one in first. And it's plastic on plastic, so it's actually not that easy. And it clips in. Once it's in, you'll see a yellow light here. The white and yellow light indicates that the machine and the software is communicating. Once the communication is done, you come over here and you have easy payment, fast charging, multiple charging. So you press the fast charging button, connect, OK, press start, and now we are transferring 9.2 kilowatt to your vehicle. So in order to take it out, do you just push this button and pull? Negative. It doesn't open. It's completely locked. So now you can leave the vehicle, you can lock it, and you can walk away from the car, and nobody will come and try to pull it and plug it in their car. So the only way to do this is the fob has to be close to you. You've got to come close to the car. You have to push the button to release it. You press the button now, and now you can pull. And again, because it's plastic on plastic, it's fairly hard, so you have to really use 2 hands to push it and push it out. And the car knows, and now it's closed. And that's because I didn't put the flap up. Let's get the flap going here. Oh, let's unlock and flap. There we go. Now the flap's closed, so my fault. There we go. And now she closes. And let's put this back. On the inside of the vehicle, at first glance, this is very Q8. It uses all Audi's new tech with the touchscreen Google Maps. There's a few subtle differences, the shifter being one of them, and the main virtual cockpit. Those two scream E-Tron. Part of the dash is also different. It's got a big E-Tron logo there, which I really like. But fit and finish is very, very nice for an electric vehicle. And that's sort of the knock on electric vehicles, is the fit and finish on the inside of the vehicle. Most people buy them to be green and environmentally friendly, as well as to save money on fuel and cost. However, the inside isn't always up to par, but Audi does an awesome job in making sure the fit and finish is awesome. The seats, to give you an example, sort of look like they're a circuit board. They do have different wiring coming down, so they've made the stitching to sort of relate that this is an electric vehicle. So I did notice something that I would question with the E-Tron, and everybody likes to know because nothing's perfect in this world. So the only one thing I really noticed on this car that I would change is some of the leather seating surfaces. I noticed that it's not actually full leather. It's anything your body touches is leather, but some of the stuff that should have been leather is not leather, like the armrest. The armrest should be full leather. Well, it's not full leather. For a $100,000 vehicle, I would expect it to be leather. One thing they didn't skim out on is the leather dash. Well, they give you a leather dash, but not a leather armrest. So they must have put their money somewhere. So let's find out where that money's spent. So as you guys have seen in my A6, A7 videos, you know we go pretty in depth in this system, so I won't go through all that. I'll go through the important stuff, and that is range anxiety. So let's talk about it, and let's talk about nav. So one of the things that alleviate range anxiety that the Audi has done is they have set up a route planner for you. This specific car is not set up as yet because this is just still a tester for the Canadian market. However, the way it's set up is you hit the navigation button, you put an address in. So let's say in the specific case, I'm going to pick Toronto, Ohio, which is not Toronto, Canada. I press start, and it's going to calculate it, and it's going to tell me I'm not going to have enough battery to get there. And it's going to ask me if I want to stop at different routes. So insufficient battery charge, do you want to include charging station in this route? You would say okay. However, the car's not loaded with all that data as yet. So what'll happen is, you see it's all blue here. That won't be the case. It'll turn white when you run out of power. So there's two different segments. The first one, when you hit 100 kilometers of battery left, the indicator will turn amber to let you know that you have to be careful, and it'll ask you if you want to reroute to the closest charging station. If you ignore that and you get to 50 kilometers an hour, the cluster will turn red to let you know that you only got 50 kilometers. At that point, you need to start looking. But let's pretend you move past that. Then there's a warning system that comes up. The car will roll right to zero and the car will die. And when the car dies, guess what? You have 2 starts to go. So you can press the start button twice. The first one will give you about 700 meters, and that 700 meters is to get you off the highway, because obviously it assumes that you're trying to find the next place. So the car slowly fades away, runs out of power, and when it goes to zero, which really is not zero in terms of actually battery power, but it has to keep some power to keep all the electronics in the car working. However, that first start will give you 700 meters, and once you pull yourself off the shoulder or onto the shoulder, you have one more start, and that start is to get you up onto a tow truck. So hopefully you guys never get there. At the 50 kilometer mark, when everything turns red, hopefully you find yourself a charging station. Now, it's pretty cool that it tells you in white that you'll have no battery power and you have to charge up right there. Once you charge up, then this will tell you how much power you'll have when you get there. So in 45 minutes in Brantford, I will have to charge up in 45 minutes, and I'll have 40% battery power to get to full. So that's pretty cool that it'll tell you. Are we at the point in this world today where you can pre-trip? Where I feel that we should be is, which we're not, is I feel we have to, imagine you could set up a trip that's 700 kilometers away, and in 1.5 hours, you know you'll run out of battery power. And when you get there, the station's already waiting for you. It's been blocked off. It knows you're going to arrive, and it pre-bills you. That is where we're going to be probably in about 3 to 5 years, which is going to be awesome. Right now, when you show up, you know if it's available or not. But let's say you're driving to a charging station that's 5 minutes away, and somebody else is also driving that charging station that's 3 minutes away. Obviously, that person's going to get there before you do. So how do you block that time off? And at the moment, there's really nothing out there that'll block that time off specific for you. Like when you enter it into the nav, it would be pretty cool to already block that time off, because it knows you're going to be there in an hour and 10 minutes, or whatever the case will be. But that's pretty cool. So we're getting there, but the first step now is basically just getting people used to being electrified. One of the changes is the rear view camera. When I put the car in reverse, it pivots. So the camera pivots. As I turn in and out here, you can see that the camera is actually turning. But another thing I did notice is it's really wide, which I showed you guys earlier. So what this does, it actually gets, the 360 cameras Audi has normally just covers about a car distance. This covers about 2 cars. As you can see one full space on either side and a quarter, which is about 50% wider than the normal vehicles we sell. All right. Here we are. Gonna take it for a test drive and see how it is. All right, so that was putting it in drive. I would just pull it back to go into drive and push it forward to go into reverse. So first thing I noticed is when I put it in drive, the car rolls back until the hold assist comes on, but it doesn't move forward. So you actually have to press the gas for it to move forward. So as you put in drive, it doesn't creep forward like most gas cars or all gas cars, unless you're driving a 100 horsepower gas car. But yeah, this thing, when I hit the gas, then it moves, but put in drive, it doesn't move. So right now it feels like a gas car, except I can hear, if I turn the radio down, I can hear Superman on his way there. The wheezing sound, sort of. I don't know what, oh, there it rolls back again, so that's a new one. So on inclines, it does roll back. So you have to kind of be aware that you have to hit your brakes. This one's got a single motor. It's got 2 motors, but a single drive, sorry. And gets up to speed pretty quick. I'm doing 70 and it doesn't feel like 70, so it's very Q8-like. This specific one does have, they all actually have air suspension. And this one feels very soft. very soft. Steering feels definitely softer than a Q8. It is a very windy day today, but yeah, this is soft feeling. I would kind of say it's almost, I would feel like it's more luxurious in terms of the ride than a Q8. Definitely softer than a Q7. A Q7 is fairly firm, but yeah, it's as quiet as a Q8 because all the windows are security glass or acoustic glass. They used to call it security glass back in the day, and they used to charge you big money for it, but now it's called acoustic glass. It's basically 2 layers of glass with a plastic film in the middle that quietens the area. But yeah, power-wise, well, there's cars in front of me, but let me just slow down here and get a bit of an acceleration going. So it's called a kickdown. So you can get, there's 2 different times if you put in kickdown. So you have to have it in sport. So sport would be just to pull the lever back, go in sport. Right now I'm in efficiency, so I'm going to go to dynamic and comfort auto dynamic. There we go. The car lowers down. I'm going to come to a full stop here, and I'm going to just foot to the ground, and let's see how it feels. Whoa, 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 whoa. There's no lag. It's just a constant push. What do you say, Ian?
That's crazy.
That's crazy. No lag at all. Just a constant push. When I do hit the brakes, though, the charge, it regenerates the power. So if you look at, now I'm at 50% power. Once I hit the brakes, I'm just going to accelerate a little bit and hit the brakes here, and it's going to go into charge. So now I'm charging up recuperation, they call it. I'm recuperating it. So I would say our normal power is about this one. So I'm probably between 25 and 50% is how most people would use it every day. 50% or more doesn't seem like I'd use it that often. I didn't really hit it more than 50% up to that acceleration point. But every time I touch the brake, you can hear a little whine. So if I'm hitting the brakes now, you can hear a little whine of it come down, but it is charging. So there's different recuperation levels. You can have the coasting where it doesn't recuperate at all. You can have light recuperation, or you can have basically heavy recuperation, which brakes on you like you're in a manual transmission gearbox and you're high revving and it's braking on the engine. So, well, it's so weird driving electric. It's so quiet. Eerily quiet, which I've driven a Tesla before, and the Tesla drives similar, obviously, in terms of being electric. One of the things that's different about the Audi is this is quieter, for starters, and the fit and finish in this car is a lot better than Tesla. Now, it doesn't have Elon Musk behind it. It has Wolfgang Gade behind it, or Rupert, or one of the German guys, but at the end of the day, I don't know. It's just different. It's different. What do you guys think? Do you guys like electric? Have you driven electric? Let me know. So like most of these videos, I only have the vehicles for a short period of time. It's got so much torque. So in terms of torque numbers, this vehicle does almost 500 foot-pounds of torque in terms of electric power converted to torque. And in terms of horsepower, it has almost 400 horsepower. So that's a lot of power, but this vehicle also does weigh a ton. It weighs about 5,600 pounds, which is about 700 pounds heavier than a Q8. So it is heavy, but it doesn't really feel heavy. And one thing I did notice, which you can't really see, is all the battery packs are on the bottom of the vehicle. So it is very, very bottom heavy. So even though it's soft and it coasts like I wouldn't say Cadillac, but it definitely is a lot more coasty and lofty per se than the Q8 and the Q5 and A6. It's kind of more A8ish in terms of kind of how it bounces, but the steering's very soft. But when it actually do go around a corner, it does plant very, very, very well, and that's just because the weight is all in the bottom. And it's got a 51-49 weight distribution, but that really means a lot for the BMW guys. For me, it's really just turning the steering wheel, point and shoot, and that's exactly where this thing goes. Is all the weight being on the bottom really, really helps with that, and really keeps it narrowed and focused. And there's so many safety systems that if there's a car in front of me, it warms me, dings me. And I'm still not a huge tech guy. I still like the mechanical feel. I'm still a gearhead that way. but the cornering on this thing for this much weight corners very, very well. So that's just something to keep in mind, that even though at first it might feel a little bit lofty and Cadillac-y, I guess, but it is, when you make that turn, it holds the road. All right, guys, so let me know your thoughts below. Let me know if you guys like electric vehicles, if you hate electric vehicles, if you're like me, still a gearhead, you still like to hear something other than that organ playing when you're backing up or up to 40 kilometers an hour. It's a bit windy out here, so I hope you can hear me, that this is a truck. I love this truck. I'm kidding, guys. SUV. Comment below. Thanks for watching. Okay.